Okay, tennis fans, Coach Kirk here. I want to give some quick tips on doubles strategy and positioning. I'm going to go through a scenario that happened to me last week in a tennis match on my league, one of my leagues. So I was playing doubles with a very athletic, self-taught, tall, young tennis player who uh, is pretty effective in doubles, but he could be so much better if his positioning was better. And not making any pokes at anybody, but there's a lot of untapped potential. Let's just say that. All right, so I'm serving. Okay, I'll be green here. Okay, I'm serving. My partner, tallness, is basically hanging out over here when I'm serving. Our opponents have very strong returns. They have very good ground strokes. They're confident. They take a big cut at it. So the ball coming back is just a hurricane, a reliable hurricane. Okay. I'm a serve and volleyer. I like to serve and come in. I serve and approach. I'll stay back sometimes, but I'm definitely coming in at some point with doubles. Okay. So I'm serving. Our opponent on the deuce side had a very strong cross-court return. In this position, with my partner playing in the alley, and by the way, he kind of plays there because he's tall and his backhand is not very strong, but his forehand's decent, but he's just tall. He needs a lot of time and room to set up to hit his forehand volley. So he's figured out how far back to play that accommodates his tallness, okay? And actually, he plays in close, which is kind of funny. Because he can handle a ball, lobs and whatnot. They'd get attempted on him here, but he basically has no backhand to use on this side. So he's got his forehand wing ready to go. The problem is the returner is cracking forehand cross court so reliably that my partner never really gets a chance to contribute on the deuce side to picking off this ball or causing any kind of problem for this guy. Okay. So at some point, I asked him if he wouldn't mind just playing over a little bit. And lo and behold, we started winning more points because this guy never went down the line anyway. And his return now, he had a little tighter margin to work with. And it just it cleaned up our position with us being a little closer together. Okay. All right. So that's number one. If you're playing at the net and you're playing out in the alley, you need to get over, because you're not contributing by being out here. You're leaving way too much responsibility to the player on the deuce court back deep. Okay, the other thing that happens is if I misfire and go at the net player, he could put an airplane between us, right? So I have to jolt to my left for my backhand. He has to go backwards for his forehand. We're both in a pinch here if a ball goes at this guy, okay? Now, let's talk about when I'm returning, and I was returning in the ad court, and my partner is over here. Here's a returner. We'll put the returner over here. Returner's partner was up in this area. So I'm the returner. Here's the server. Here's my partner. He was playing more like in this space, sometimes over here. And what I was proposing is to improve our positioning, our starting position as the returning team, so that Mr. Strong return over here, who had a very good backhand and forehand return from this side, who was cracking it reliably cross court between us on autopilot. Okay. Once we got into the exchange. Okay. So I return, he was staying back on the baseline and just keeping the ball going cross court. And that's fine. I can keep a rally going. But in this position, my partner, he wants to be far away because his backhand's not strong. He wants to have some extension for it, which is great. Okay. But he's so far over and he's never going to get a forehand here. This player is never going to really take their backhand, change the direction of the ball, and hit it to the forehand in the alley. Never happens. I mean, maybe it gets attempted, but it doesn't score very often. So what's happened here with my partner is he's become, kind of almost disabled because anything he's going to cross on is going to be to his weaker side, his backhand. Okay. So what I was trying to do is get him to play over here. And now what this does is it puts a thought into this player's mind of maybe every once in a while I'm going to try to go down the line. Okay, try to change the direction, which it never did. And then he can cover it with his forehand. But what happens here, now as I'm returning, okay, and we get into a cross-court thing, he doesn't have a lot of room to work with, okay, to hurt us. And then if he wants to hurt us and he wants to try to go down the line, he's doing what's called changing the direction of the ball, which is the hardest thing to do in doubles, or in tennis. I hit to his backhand, cross court, and then he tries to hit his backhand down the line. That's the hardest thing to do. Now, there are some players that will play over more and avoid a backhand, and they like to hit their forehand here, but that's a pattern that can be very recognized, and you just position yourself a little bit so that you can handle that ball, so that you can't hit winners and you can get balls back. Now we're still in better position. I'm returning. My partner is here. I was asking him to move to the middle. You stop protecting the alley so much. That lets this player just rifle shots between us strongly. Okay? You move in here, and most players want to go cross court. Almost everybody wants to hit cross court. It makes sense. The court's longer this way. It's only 78 feet long from baseline to baseline. Okay? But from a good target, singles sideline, baseline intersection, to single sideline, baseline intersection, good target, so that I'm not trying to go corner to corner and risk going wide. That's 82.5 feet. So, and we're going over the low side of the net. So rallies happen cross court. So if my partner moves in here, it puts him more noticeable to the player back here, that he's got to be more precise as he hits cross court. He can't just loosely hit cross court. It's too easy to get picked off. It puts pressure on this player. Okay? Now, if I crack a return and I want to just move in, my partner moves in. And we're repeating the same angles to this guy. He has the same kind of difficult angles to work with. Now he's under more pressure because he sees us coming in, and out of the corner of his eye, he sees us advancing. We're on offense. So he goes on panic mode. A lot of benefits to this concept of playing, moving together, and getting together at some point, or we're together at some point at the net. Okay, we don't stay in the one up, one back position. Worst way to play doubles. Try it out.